Hey, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to be talking about the latest episode of Loki, that is episode 4, and specifically my thoughts towards the end of the episode and what I think might happen moving forward. To be quite honest, I originally didn't realize there was a post-credits scene at all for this episode, and I spent most of Thursday pretty pissed off because I thought that they just killed one of my favorite characters again in the MCU. And I thought that it was cheapening the way that they were treating this character, that it was cheapening death in this universe. And then I had posted a TikTok talking about this and realized that I just missed the end scene. Or the end credit scene. And now I know that there was some more to it than that. Loki has apparently been transported to somewhere else. It seems to be a place that's very much destroyed. Maybe it's another apocalypse, who knows? And he thinks, is he in hell? Specifically, he's talking about hell, the realm of hell, where I think Asgardians go, or some Asgardians or some people will go if they're not going to Valhalla. I'm not specific on the details on that, but yeah. So he thought he was in hell, and then we hear some voices talk to him and say, "You're not dead yet." And then we pan to who those people are, and we see 4 seemingly different versions of Loki. And yeah, we have the kid Loki, we have an old man Loki, we have an alligator Loki, and we have, I guess the last one is an African American, or not necessarily African American, but like a black version of Loki. And he has Thor's hammer in his hand, or at least some iteration of Thor's hammer. And wow, I'm very surprised. I wasn't sure we were gonna get any more variants of this character, just because it seemed like adding multiple versions of the same character. Sure, we have Sylvie now, but adding more and more to that, it could get pretty crowded, but clearly they're gonna try and make it work, and I'm super excited to see where that goes, because it also means Tom Hiddleston is not dead. Yeah, because that was honestly, that ruined my Wednesday evening, to be honest. So my assumption is that these different versions of Loki are going to have to come together in some way, shape, or form. I'm assuming in the next episode, hopefully we're going to figure out where they actually ended up. And we're going to have to answer the question, what happens to everyone that gets zapped by that little stick thing? Like, does everyone go to where Loki currently is? Is this just another apocalypse that they're transported to? Like, what is going on there? Like, how does that actually work? Definitely a lot of questions that need answers, and I think that it's possible that every single variant that, say, doesn't go to trial or something, or doesn't become a agent of the TVA, is sent to this area. And what that could potentially mean is that we get a bunch of variants that are actually non-humanoid beings that might end up being in this area, as well as particularly dangerous variants like Loki's and stuff like that. So specifically, that might be the reason why the TVA doesn't seem to have any members that are, say, Kree or I don't know, like dwarfs, like whatever it is. We don't have any examples of those, or non-standard human-sized beings being brought into the TVA. So I think that that's probably something that they do. Maybe instead of going to trial, or afterwards they just zap them and they're done with it. And then they get sent to this, probably an apocalypse. It looks like an Earth-like place, but that could either mean that we're at the end of Earth, or we're on another planet that looks very similar, because it looks like we have a bunch of skyscrapers in the background. And yeah, who knows? We'll just have to wait and see on that. But yeah, I'm also very curious to see what happens next with Sylvie. How is she going to deal with being in the TVA now, knowing that the timekeepers don't exist? And my idea on that is that the judge lady, whose name I never bothered to remember, is actually the one in charge. Although that does call into question who was in charge before her, because there was another judge before her as well. Is it just whoever's picked as the judge is the head of the TVA at that moment? I'm not sure. I think that might be part of it. But the question becomes, like, who else also knows about the truth of the TVA? Is there anyone else above this judge character? I should really know her name at this point, but I don't know. She wasn't really a main character. I didn't bother to remember, but regardless, I do think that we're going to get answers to that question. I don't know how she's going to go about actually revealing to the rest of the TVA that they're all actually variants, just because are they really going to believe her? I mean, she is a Loki variant, and it depends on how the judge is going to play her cards. Is she going to just call Loki a liar, or is she going to admit to have created this farce? In my opinion, we are going to still have to see another villain emerge from this. And to me, there are a few people that could come about from this. I would say Doctor Doom is one example of a character capable. I think he has time traveled before. I could be wrong about that. Again, I'm not a huge comic buff, but I think that could be a cool way to introduce him as the leader or shadow leader or whatever to the TVA. But what's probably more likely is someone like Kang the Conqueror. I do think that is something that people have been talking about as well. So I don't know, that does have some weight to it, and he would probably be a good next build-up villain, or at least an intermediate villain for the next Avengers fight or something like that. So I do think Kang is a great candidate as well, although to be fair, I would prefer it to have been Doctor Doom. The other question with that is also, like, why is magic not allowed at the TVA? How is that possible? Like, stuff like that, there needs to be an explanation as to why that stuff cannot be done there. So it would make sense that a magician like Doctor Doom would be able to prevent other people from doing magic if he's, like, say, at the height of his ability. Now, of course, that calls into question what that character's motivation would be, stuff like that. Is it just to, have ultimate control over everything? Like, what's going on there? Definitely a lot of questions that'll have to be answered, and I think the back half, like the last, 2 episodes? Oh wow, it's only 2 episodes actually. The last 2 episodes are going to have to very clearly show who the final battle is going to be with, because there has to be something more than this, because we've already defeated the Timekeepers at this point, and they're just robots. So we're going to have to find out who created the Timekeepers, who's actually in charge behind the scenes, who's in charge of the judge, stuff like that, and move forward from there. And I'm sure that all the Lokis are going to have to come together and figure out a way to make this fight work. That being said, I do wonder if this is going to open a doorway for Tom Hiddleston to return to the main MCU timeline once everything ends in this series. I hope so. I don't want this to be the end of him in the films. I don't want this to be the end of him in the franchise with really in anything. Like, I do want him to come back, right? And I think that it would be a missed opportunity if this was just the end of this character. So yeah, mainly I'm just thinking we're gonna have to find out who this final villain is. It's probably gonna be Kang or Doctor Doom or something along those lines. I don't think it's gonna be someone like Surtur or Mephisto. I say Surtur because at the very beginning we had someone that looked like the devil being seemingly the villain, and of course we know that was Lady Loki at this point, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't, and it could have been Surtur all along. That would be a real twist. That would actually be hilarious if the final battle was with Surtur of all people. Honestly, that would be really funny. Regardless, what was I saying? Yeah, so we have some ideas that I've thrown out there as to who the final villain might be, or is it just mainly going to be the 2 Lokis, or the groups of Lokis, like, reuniting and the multiverse being kicked off? Like, is there actually going to be a final villain? Like, how is this going to work? I think there's going to still be some type of final battle going on, at least in the last episode, and I'm very excited to see how that comes about. So yeah, were you like me? Did you miss that final end scene? Were you distraught for a little bit, thinking that Loki was actually dead? And what do you think the reunion between Sylvie and Loki is going to be like? I'm still not sure how I feel about them potentially having romantic feelings towards each other, just because they're technically the same person. So not too sure how I feel about that, but yeah, let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments below. Do you agree with some of my choices for villains? And what do you think is going to come about in the next 2 episodes? Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please subscribe for more content on my channel, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.